Greetings, citizens, and welcome to Unknown. I'm Jason McClellan. Thanks for hanging out with me. The question of whether or not UFOs pose a threat has been an enduring question throughout UFO history, and it's one that seemingly picked up some momentum recently. So let's briefly look at this question together, and I'll share my take on it too. The primary catalyst for the current resurgence of the question, are UFOs a threat, is seemingly To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, a hybrid research and entertainment company made up of former government and military personnel and scientists on a mission to explore exotic science and materials to change the world and to influence public perception surrounding the topic of UFOs. The term threat has been used by the company repeatedly over the course of its nearly 3-year history. The word is even used in the description of the company's current TV show on history, Unidentified: Inside America's UFO Investigation. The show's description explains that its purpose is to, quote, produce tangible evidence to build the most indisputable case for the existence and threat of UFOs ever assembled, end quote. One individual who's been quite vocal in response to TTSA's use of the term threat is Stephen Greer, a well-known and polarizing personality in the UFO world. Greer's not a fan of characterizing UFOs as a threat. He's known for his stance that extraterrestrials are benevolent. Wait, did we just abruptly jump from UFOs to ETs? UFOs and extraterrestrials aren't the same thing. Yeah, some UFOs could be of extraterrestrial origin. Some could be piloted by ETs, but certainly not all UFOs are extraterrestrial spacecraft. So Greer's taking offense at the word threat when talking about UFOs is a bit of an overreaction. Like I said, he's been very vocally opposed to this characterization, and he specifically voiced his displeasure at TTSA and its team, specifically Luis Elizondo. Here's one example. Back in 2018, Greer posted this on Twitter. Quote, Elizondo is/was known as a counterintelligence agent in the Pentagon, one of the best, meaning he has a role to play to deceive the public and present UAP, UFO, ET events as a threat. It's all spin by the spinmeisters, end quote. This is also a big theme in his latest documentary film. So let's get back to TTSA. Something to keep in mind is that TTSA's efforts are, and have always been, focused on the military. They work closely with the military, they have contracts with the government, and they're actively working on gaining additional partnerships with the military. Their TV show on history focuses on the military and on influencing Congress. Luis Elizondo addressed the use of the word threat on a recent episode of the company's podcast.
I think where this falls into the category of is potential threats, because we don't have enough information to establish whether something is or is not a threat. So at least from my time at ATIT, we had to work under the auspices that everything is a potential threat until we are sure it is not a threat. And frankly, you want your Department of Defense to look at things through that optic. We're not a humanitarian assistance organization. When you look at what the job is of the Department of Defense, it's to very quickly identify and neutralize a potential adversary. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
The military has used the word threat in relation to UFOs for decades, for the very reason that Elizondo pointed out. That's the focus of the military, looking at things and assessing potential threats. Various official government UFO studies ended because it was determined that UFOs don't pose a threat. The U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book concluded that, quote, no UFO reported, investigated, and evaluated by the Air Force was ever an indication of a threat to our national security, end quote. The CIA's Robertson panel concluded that, quote, there was no obvious security threat, end quote. The British Ministry of Defence's official UFO project closed in 2009 after determining that, quote, no UFO report has revealed any evidence of a potential threat to the United Kingdom, end quote. My friend and colleague Maureen Ellsbury and I asked retired Army Colonel John Alexander about UFOs being a threat back in 2012.
Colonel Alexander, during your time in the military and all your research you've done on unidentified objects, Do you feel that these flying unidentified craft pose a security threat?
No. I do think there have been a few isolated incidents in which they're a major threat, but by definition, the Department of Defense has looked at it and said this is not a threat. And if you go back 50 years, we haven't been invaded.
But aren't objects that we have no idea what they are, isn't that a threat?
No.
No?
Many things we don't know what they are. I mean, that's the nature of reality. So, just because we don't know what it is. I think you've asked an important question, and this has to do with American culture. We treat everything as a threat. That's how we sell things, be it, toothpaste or soap or whatever. We create threats, so we're just used to that environment. And we've done that now with UFOs.
Personally, I've always been of the mindset that unidentified objects in our airspace do pose a threat because, like Elizondo pointed out on the recent episode of the TTSA podcast, you can't eliminate something as a threat until you know what it is. I think when it comes to people who object to the term threat associated with UFOs, there's a confusion between threat and hostility. Just because something poses a potential threat doesn't imply that it's malevolent. The reality with UFOs is that we have lots of strange things in our skies, and countless pilots, both commercial and military, have almost collided with these UFOs. Fighter jets have been scrambled to intercept UFOs and have been unsuccessful in their attempts. That's the bottom line with this topic. There are unidentified craft flying around that we can't identify, and although these objects don't typically do anything that seems hostile, even if they did, our military seemingly couldn't do anything about it. That, my friends, is what makes a potential threat. Well, citizens, that's going to do it for this episode. You can find more episodes of Unknown on all the major platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you're notified when we publish new episodes. And it would be awesome if you left a positive review for the show, too. You can always find this show and our other shows at rogueplanet.tv because Unknown is a Rogue Planet production. rogueplanet.tv is your home for all the strange. Thanks again for hanging out with me today. I'm Jason McClellan. Do us a favor, friends. Always treat the UFO subject with the cautious and responsible skepticism it deserves. Question everything. Have the courage to form your own opinions. Keep truth as the focus of your quest, even if the truth conflicts with your opinions. And, of course, stay strange.